The Abandoned Fort. A New Mexico horror story, United States. Kyle and Marcus had one plan for the weekend. Drive out to the abandoned Fort Garrison ruins outside Santa Fe, New Mexico, spend the night, film everything, and prove to the internet that haunted places are just old buildings with good PR. Movie camera. Bro, this video is going to go viral, Kyle said as they loaded the car. Cameras, flashlights, energy drinks, sleeping bags. Everything two 22-year-olds need to make the worst decision of their lives look like an adventure. Ghost Hunters Season 1 Episode 1. Marcus announced dramatically into the camera. Kyle and I are about to show the world that Fort Garrison is just a bunch of old rocks, faced with steam from nose. The fort sat 20 miles outside Santa Fe on a plateau surrounded by high desert. Red rock on every side. Juniper trees twisted by decades of wind. The ruins of old stone walls rising against the New Mexico sky like broken teeth. Beautiful in the afternoon. Wrong feeling as the sun went down. An old man was sweeping the entrance path when they arrived. Gray hair under a wide-brimmed hat. He looked up when he saw them with their camera equipment, and his face did something complicated. You boys staying after dark? Just overnight, Kyle said, making a video. The old man set down his broom. He looked at both of them for a long time. Place closes at sunset for a reason. We're not really worried about regulations, Marcus said. He was already filming. That's not why I'm telling you. The old man picked his broom back up. But suit yourselves. He started to walk away, then stopped. If you hear bells ringing in the middle of the night, don't follow the sound. Kyle and Marcus looked at each other. Marcus stifled a laugh. The old man was already gone. New moon. The last official visitors left at 6. The park rangers locked the main gate without checking inside. Kyle had spotted the camera blind spot on Google Maps 2 weeks ago. By 7:15, they were alone in Fort Gary. She told herself she had been half asleep and imagined the laugh. She told herself the shape in the corner was shadows. She told herself this firmly and went back to sleep. The next day at work was the worst day she could remember having in 3 years at Wonderland Toys. She had always been the employee the managers pointed to when they talked about customer service. Friendly, patient, good with kids, good with the difficult adults who acted like children. She liked helping people find what they were looking for. She was genuinely good at it. That day, a woman came in demanding a refund on a toy her son had broken himself. Mia had been through this exact situation 100 times. She knew exactly how to handle it. Patient, understanding, find a solution that leaves everyone okay. Instead, she told the woman that her son had clearly broken it, and she was not entitled to a refund, and that if she wanted to continue complaining, she was welcome to take it up with corporate. The woman's mouth dropped open. Mia's mouth dropped open too, a half second later, because she could not explain why she had said that or where that voice had come from. It was her voice, but it felt like someone else had been running it. Her manager pulled her aside, then her manager's manager. By 2 o'clock, she had been told to go home and think about whether she still wanted to work there. She went home and cried for an hour. Biscuit sat beside her on the couch and pressed his head against her leg, which was what he always did when she cried. She looked at the Labboo on the shelf. The grin looked the same as always. Wide, toothy, cheerful. She went to bed early. This time she was sure she wasn't half asleep when she heard the laugh. She was lying in the dark, completely awake, staring at the ceiling, when it came from the same corner as the night before. One voice. That same laugh. Hi. Strange, not enjoying anything. Open the box. The Golden Labboo smiled up at her. That wide, bright, toothy grin. It was beautiful. It was genuinely one of the most beautiful things she had ever seen in a toy shop, and she had seen a lot. Biscuit barked louder. Stop it, she told him. You're being dramatic. She put the doll on her shelf between a porcelain doll from Paris and a fabric doll from Oaxaca and stood back and admired it. The golden fur caught the apartment light and seemed almost to glow. She took about 30 photos of it and sent the best ones to her sister in Ohio, who texted back a string of heart eye emojis. That night, Biscuit would not come into the bedroom. He sat in the hallway just outside the door and whined softly. Not barking, just this low, continuous, unhappy sound. Mia had never heard him make before. She finally got up, picked him up, and carried him to the bed. He pressed himself against her legs and stayed very still. She thought it was odd. She fell asleep anyway. At some point deep in the night, she heard laughing. Not laughing from outside, not from the street or the neighbors. Laughing from inside the apartment. One voice. High and strange. The kind of laugh that didn't sound like it was enjoying anything. Mia opened her eyes. In the corner of the bedroom, something was standing. It was too dark to see clearly. She told herself it was shadows, the way city light comes in through blinds and makes shapes. She sat up in bed and stared at the corner. The shape didn't move. She reached over and turned on the bedside lamp. Nothing in the corner, just her laundry pile and a chair with a sweater on it. She looked at the shelf. The Golden Labboo was exactly where she had put it, smiling exactly the same as before. She lay back down. Biscuit had not moved from his position pressed against her legs. He was awake. She could feel that, but he wasn't looking at the corner. He was looking at the shelf. She turned on the light. The corner was empty. The shelf was. The Labboo was in the same position. The same smile. Except she thought. She was not completely certain, but she thought. The smile was slightly wider than it had been before. She lay awake for 2 more hours. Biscuit did not sleep at all. She could feel him awake against her legs all night. In the morning, she was reaching for her phone on the nightstand when she looked toward the shelf out of habit and made a sound she had never made before in her life. A sharp, involuntary sound, like the air had been pressed out of her. The Golden Labboo was not on the shelf. It was on the bed, 6 inches from her hand, sitting upright, smiling at her. She did not remember putting it there. She did not remember picking it up in the night. She was certain, completely certain, that she had not. Biscuit was off the bed and barking before she had fully registered what she was seeing. He grabbed the Labboo by the arm and shook it. Hard, the way he shook his rope toy, and carried it off the bed and dropped it on the floor and barked at it until Mia picked him up. She put Biscuit down. She looked at the Labboo on the floor. The smile was even wider now. She was sure of it. The painted-on grin had shifted somehow into something that was no longer charming. Something that didn't look like a toy's expression at all. She picked the doll up by 2 fingers, carried it to the trash can in the kitchen, and dropped it in. Then she went and sat on the couch and called her sister in Ohio and talked to her for an hour about nothing in particular and felt better. She went to bed with Biscuit and slept badly, but slept. In the morning, Biscuit was not in the bed. She sat up and called his name. Nothing. She got up and walked through the apartment, the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen. She called his name in every room. Nothing. She was starting to feel genuinely scared when she went back into the bedroom and happened to look down. Biscuit was under the bed. He was alive. She could see him breathing, but he was pressed as flat as he could get against the floor in the back corner under the bed frame, and he was shaking. He would not come out when she called him. She had to reach under and pull him out by his collar and hold him and sit with him on the bedroom floor for 10 minutes before the shaking started to ease. She went to check on herself in the bathroom mirror. The night before, she had noticed what looked like a rash on her hands. Small red marks she had assumed were from dry winter skin. Now they were on her arms, both arms, and beginning to appear on her neck. They looked, she thought, like bites. Small, evenly spaced. The kind of marks you might make if you had very small, very sharp teeth. She was standing in front of the mirror with her arms turned over, examining the marks when she saw it. In the mirror, over her shoulder, on the bathroom shelf behind her, the Golden Labboo. She had put it in the kitchen trash can. She had not touched it after that. She had not come into this bathroom until right now. The Golden Labboo was sitting on her bathroom shelf, and its smile was the widest she had ever seen it, so wide now that it looked nothing like the doll she had brought home from the shop. So wide that it looked like the face of something that had been pretending for days and had finally stopped bothering. Mia turned around very slowly. The shelf was right there. The Labboo was on it, smiling. In the mirror behind her, the reflection of the shelf showed something that wasn't the Labboo at all. A shape, dark, standing where the doll should have been, looking back at her through the glass. Mia's hands were shaking as she opened her laptop that afternoon. She typed in what she'd been experiencing, and within minutes, she found she was not alone. There were Reddit threads, Facebook groups, YouTube videos, forum posts in 6 languages, all of them describing the same progression. The dog behaving strangely first, the nighttime laughing, the feeling of waking up with something watching, the red marks on the skin, objects moving, the smile on the doll changing. In city after city, Chicago, New York, London, Seoul, Tokyo, Sydney, dozens of accounts. Some people reported job loss, illness, injury. A few reported things happening to the people closest to them. One post, from a woman in Seattle, simply stopped mid-sentence. Her account had not been updated in 4 months. Mia read until her hands wouldn't stay steady enough to scroll. Then she went to the kitchen, took the Labboo out of the trash can. She did not touch it with her bare hands. She used a dish towel and carried it outside to the alley behind her building. She put it in the large metal dumpster. She went back inside and got a box of long matches from the kitchen and went back to the alley and lit the doll on fire inside the dumpster. She watched it burn until there was nothing left. She went back to her apartment and cleaned the ash from the dish towel and showered and made tea and sat on the couch with Biscuit in her lap and called her sister and told her everything. Her sister listened and didn't say the rational thing, which Mia appreciated. That night, for the first time in 4 days, Biscuit slept normally, not pressed against her legs, not rigid and watchful, but stretched out across the foot of the bed the way he'd slept his whole life, completely relaxed. Mia lay awake for a while listening to the sound of Chicago outside the window and the sound of Biscuit breathing and thinking about the woman in Seattle whose post had stopped mid-sentence. Then she fell asleep, and the night was quiet, and nothing was in the corner. She was back at Wonderland Toys within the week. Her manager had decided the customer had been genuinely difficult, and the incident was expunged from Mia's record. She was grateful in a way that felt unusually genuine, the kind of gratitude you feel when the dog behaving strangely first, the nighttime laughing, the feeling of waking up with something watching, the red marks on the skin, objects moving, the smile on the doll changing. In city after city, Chicago, New York, London, Seoul, Tokyo, Sydney, dozens of accounts. Some people reported job loss, illness, injury. A few reported things happening to the people closest to them. One post, from a woman in Seattle, simply stopped mid-sentence. Her account had not been updated in 4 months. Mia read until her hands wouldn't stay steady enough to scroll. Then she went to the kitchen, took the Labboo out of the trash can. She did not touch it with her bare hands. She used a dish towel and carried it outside to the alley behind her building. She put it in the large metal dumpster. She went back inside and got a box of long matches from the kitchen and went back to the alley and lit the doll on fire inside the dumpster. She watched it burn until there was nothing left. She went back to her apartment and cleaned the ash from the dish towel and showered and made tea and sat on the couch with Biscuit in her lap and called her sister and told her everything. Her sister listened and didn't say the rational thing, which Mia appreciated. That night, for the first time in 4 days, Biscuit slept normally, not pressed against her legs, not rigid and watchful, but stretched out across the foot of the bed the way he'd slept his whole life, completely relaxed. Mia lay awake for a while listening to the sound of Chicago outside the window and the sound of Biscuit breathing and thinking about the woman in Seattle whose post had stopped mid-sentence. Then she fell asleep, and the night was quiet, and nothing was in the corner. She was back at Wonderland Toys within the week. Her manager had decided the customer had been genuinely difficult, and the incident was expunged from Mia's record. She was grateful in a way that felt unusually genuine, the kind of gratitude you feel when something ordinary is restored to you after you thought you might have lost it. She kept the Labboo shelf space empty. In its place, she put a small glass of water, something her grandmother had told her to do in empty corners, a thing she had never done in her adult life and didn't fully understand but did anyway. 3 weeks later, her sister texted her a photo. She had been shopping at a flea market in Columbus and found a Golden Labboo doll at one of the tables. She thought Mia might want to replace the one she'd gotten rid of. Mia called her immediately. "Don't buy it," she said. "Why? Isn't this the same kind you had? Don't buy it. Don't bring it home. Walk away from the table right now." A pause. "Mia, it's a doll." "I know," Mia said. "Walk away." Her sister walked away. The table with the Golden Labboo stayed in Mia's mind for days after that. The image of it sitting there at a flea market in Columbus, smiling at whoever stopped to look at it, waiting patiently for someone to pick it up and bring it home. Patient. Still. Smiling that wide smile. The end ghost.